Hi everyone, today I'm going to present Chocolatera Ibarra, a traditional Mexican chocolate company. Chocolatera Ibarra is a 100% Mexican company founded in 1925 in Guadalajara. It specializes in traditional chocolate, especially chocolate de mesa, which is deeply rooted in Mexican culture. The brand is known for its authentic recipes made with simple ingredients like cocoa, sugar, and cinnamon. Today, Ibarra represents traditions, quality, and Mexican identity, and its products are consumed both locally and internationally. However, when we compare Chocolatera Ibarra with global companies like Nestle or Hershey's, we can see some differences. Ibarra follows basic principles of responsible production, but its COIL strategy is not as developed or visible as those of global leaders. Unlike multinational companies, which have structured sustainability programs and global initiatives, Ibarra remains more traditional and locally focused. So we can say that Chocolatera Ibarra is only partially aligned with industry-leading companies. It shares values like quality and authenticity, but it still has opportunities to improve its sustainability and global impacts.
I will present two Peruvian chocolate companies, Cacao and Amazona Chocolate. These companies promote high-quality cacao sourced directly from local farmers. They are committed to sustainable and ethical production, and they work closely with indigenous and rural communities. They also contribute to protecting Peru's biodiversity and highlight the country's cultural heritage. Their goal is to position Peruvian cacao in the premium international chocolate market. When we compare them global companies like Hershey and Nestle, we can say that they are only partially aligned. They share similar values such as sustainability, ethical sourcing, and product quality. But however, they operate on a much smaller scale, have limited international presence, and less formal CSR and ESG strategies. So to conclude, they are aligned in terms of value, but not in terms of global scale.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I will be talking to you about the recommendations we came up with for the three to four companies that we researched this week. So let me just share my screen, and we can get started. There we go. There. Okay. So our first organization is the Chocolate Ibarra Company, and the first recommendation, the three recommendations we're going to be talking about are first for the Chocolate Ibarra Company for them to clearly label where their ingredients come from, and how they're produced, and the traditional heritage of the company. And then they can also invest in community infrastructure in their chocolate producing regions. And they can also create employee feedback systems so employees can impact decisions and help improve the company's operations. So, in the first recommendation for clearly labeling their ingredients and all that, we recommend that they do this through the actual physical written labels on the products, or by using a QR code on their products that customers can scan, where they can get information about the company's origins, how the ingredients are produced, made, and the heritage, which is the identity of the company as well. And so, yes, and doing this will increase transparency and trust for their consumers, So the positive impacts of this would be increased transparency, increased trust, deepen brands loyalty, and helps differentiate from other competing companies. And the relevant sustainability development goals would be 12, 9, and 17 because it encourages transparency and helping consumers make informed decisions, as well as supporting the industry by supporting supply chain communication and promoting innovation through this labeling. And it also aligns with the partnerships for the goals for goal 17 because there's a lot of collaboration that goes on between the supply chains. Now, to go to the second recommendation is to invest in community infrastructure in the regions that they use for to source their ingredients. So they could do this. We came up with the idea to contribute to local schools. They can help invest, and they can also help invest in clean water for the community as well. This is to make sure the individuals and companies have safe water to drink and to bathe in. And both these actions the companies should take to ensure growth and safety for the families they depend on for their raw materials. So these positive impacts would strengthen the community, strengthen their relationship with the community, and increase individuals and families' livelihood, and increase productivity and stabilize supply chain and others as well. And it also addresses the goals 6, 3, and 4 and the sustainability development goals because it aligns with the goal of providing clean water and sanitation because it will allow for safe drinking water access and hygiene for the community. And it also promotes good health and well-being by encouraging healthcare facilities and improving sanitation and reducing disease and improve overall community health overall. And it also will contribute to quality education and long-term opportunities for families, which will also increase the productivity for the company as well. And the third and last recommendation for the Chocolate Ibarra Company is for them to use employee feedback systems and training programs to promote decent work in their community. In their company, sorry. And the positive impact of this is that it will promote inclusivity, increase transparency within the company, increase employee engagement, and make sure employees feel seen and valued. And this ties into goals 8 and 16 because it aligns with the UN's goal for decent work and economic growth because it promotes a safe and beneficial work environment, and it values the productive it values their employees and the opinions, and it values their voice within the company as well. And it also the inclusivity and participation in this recommendation perfectly aligns with a goal number 16 because it helps organizations identify issues quicker and increases accountability in the workplace. Now to move on to the second company that we researched, which is Finca Carpe Diem. And so the recommendations we did were, the first recommendation was to track and report sustainability metrics for investors. And this is to promote biodiversity and keeping track of progress, and gives the company, it shows them how to measure future success. So basically they can keep track of their sustainability progress now, so they can see where they are now, and they can kind of map out where they want to go in the future. And it also gives investors an idea of where the company is sustainability-wise, and see how their money is being best used for their needs and wants, and for the company, and for the environment as a whole. It also promotes transparency between investors and the company. And this aligns with goals 12, 15, and 8 because it promotes responsible consumption and production through encouraging sustainable production and tracking the progress of this production through these reports that will be done. And also, it ensures ecosystems are protected through sustainability practices and tracking biodiversity. And it also promotes fair labor practices and safe conditions, which will ensure long-term economic stability which aligns with the UN's goal of decent work and economic growth. And yes, and then recommendation two, which is to create pathways for farmers and on-site workers to progress into leadership roles. And this can be done through programs or mentorship relationships or trainings. And this will increase productivity, promote decent work, and promote a healthy work environment, and encourages educating workers, and also increases engagement and encourages purpose in farmers' work. And this ties into goal 8 and 4 because it encourages promotions and increases wages, which is good for the overall decent work and increasing economic growth for these people. And it also, in these training programs that can be put into place, make it possible to produce skillful leaders, and this aligns, and this how is done through quality education, because and helping the company utilize training programs that produce future leaders for the company. And lastly, the last recommendation for Finca Carpe Diem is that first of all, the environment is a very important stakeholder. It's very underrated as well, and the environment is still a stakeholder for all companies, and so the company should implement agroforestry systems that grow cacao along native tree plants and crops that are being nourished instead of being torn down. And this will increase biodiversity and support sustainable farming systems. And this ties into goals 15, 13, and 12 because it promotes life on land, and also it will reduce climate change because the tree cover, instead of tearing trees down, will increase the amount of trees, and the increased tree cover will help remove carbon from the or reduce the carbon from the environment, and reduce climate change. And this will also reduce the negative environmental impact and support responsible agricultural production. Now, for InCal, the recommendations we came up with was to provide healthcare benefits for employees, and I'm sorry, that's wrong. I forgot to change that. The second recommendation would be to promote their Peruvian cacao heritage, and this can be done through campaigns, marketing and communication campaigns, but more so storytelling campaigns, telling the stories of this heritage and how it has impacted the company. And this will solidify brand identity and deepen emotional connection with consumers. And this ties into goal 12 and 17 because it demonstrates the collaborations and partnerships that come with these campaigns, and also it highlights the responsible consumption and production of the company. And we also lastly, we recommend that that InCal full transition to fully recyclable packaging of their products, and this will reduce environmental footprint and save costs. And this also ties into goals 13 and 12 because it will help reduce climate change, and it will also encourage responsible consumption and production through sustainable practices that are beneficial for the company and the environment, and while also setting a standard for the company reputation as well. And then lastly, we kind of did two companies we looked at. We looked at InCal and the Amazona chocolate. And the recommendations we came up with that was to provide full traceability on their social media and websites for consumers, which means that on their social media, we suggest that they come up with a series where they show they trace back to the sourcing regions and how everything is made. And they can do this on social media or produce a full in-depth report on their website that consumers can read. And the second recommendation is to reduce carbon emissions in production and transportation, and then partner with NGOs for community development and education programs. And yes, and these recommendations can increase transparency. For the first recommendation, it will increase transparency and promote responsible and ethical communication. And the relevant goals, it ties into goals 12 and 17 because because of the responsible and transparent, the way the consumers can see how responsible and transparent the company is in their production, and it highlights the different partnerships that go into producing these products as well. And the second recommendation is that it decreases cost. For the second recommendation, it decreases cost and increases operational resilience, because by reducing their carbon emissions, they can do this by by transitioning their factories to 100% solar energy, and this can help them be more resilient against outages and fragile energy grids. And this ties into goals 12, 13, and 15 because it reduces the carbon emissions and it prioritizes sustainable consumption and also protects ecosystems from these carbon emissions. And then the last recommendation for Amazona chocolate is that we suggest that they partner with NGOs for community development and education programs. And it will improve resilience of supply chain by working to get rid of poverty and child labor, and it will enhance the brand reputation. And this ties into the UN's sustainability development goals 3, 4, 5, and 10 because it increases the livelihood of these communities and gives quality education and bridges the gap between the gender inequality in these communities, while also it highlights the partnerships that will develop, obviously through partnering with these NGOs, and you can see the collaboration between them. So yes, those are all the recommendations that we came up with. And now for our next team member that will tell us about the target region, Germany, that we did. So thank you.
So I choose the target region of Germany, and I have 5 recommendations for you. So the first recommendation is to be direct and clear, because in Germany, communication is very direct and explicit. You have to present your information very clearly, structured, and precise way without ambiguity. You must avoid vague statements and focus on facts and data. It's really important. The second recommendation is to maintain a formal tone. You have to use a professional language. You must avoid slang and address people with respect and titles. So like Mr., Doctor, and so on. It's expected a lot in Germany in business settings. So the third recommendation is to show respect for hierarchy. Acknowledge position and role in the company. Decision making may come from higher management, so it is important to address key decision makers appropriately. The fourth recommendation is to focus on individual responsibility. You must highlight personal contribution, accountability, and clear roles in projects. Germans value independence and responsibility in professional environments. And for the 5 recommendation, you have to keep your emotion controlled, which also works for many regions. So your presentation should be logical and objective rather than emotional. You must avoid exaggeration and focus on rational arguments supported by evidence.